Welcome to the Studio Success Formula Podcast, the business school for dance studio owners. And now for your host, Clint Salter.
Hey there, dance studio owners. It's Clint here from Studio Success Formula. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. Now, today's guest is a pioneer in developing and selling unique dance programs. Following an illness that forced her into a lighter teaching workload, she had the game-changing flashcard idea where she could create an easily transferable teaching method to other teachers and studios. That's when Hiphop in a Box was born. Today, over 2,000 dance studios, academic schools, enrichment programs, and summer programs use Dance in a Box tools to unify, structure, and enhance their dance programs. You are in for a real treat, a very highly fun, enjoyable interview with the wonderful, the inspiring Tricia Gomez. Hey Tricia, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'm having an awesome time over here in Louisiana, and I'm so glad to be with you today.
Awesome. Well, it's lovely here in beautiful Sydney, Australia as well. So we're both having a good time. Great way to start our interview together today. Tricia, I'd love for you to start by telling our dance studio owners a little bit about who you are and what you do in your business.
Well, I have been dancing for quite some time. I was a professional dancer. Well, I was a teacher first and then gave that up to become a professional dancer. Did that for some time, got injured, started teaching again, got sick, and then started developing programs that now I actually educate teachers to implement hip-hop for little kids into their program. And then I'm also now working with kids with special needs.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. That's cool. And you've been on quite the journey, and I want to talk a little bit with you about that today. But first, I want to talk about Hiphop in a Box, because I'd love to know how that got started. What was the beginning of that journey? How did you come up with the idea? And also, how did you recognize that that was a gap in the market and that people would be interested in buying the program?
Wow. Well, it started really all when I got diagnosed with lupus, and I was teaching about 21 classes a week.
Wow.
And I needed a way, I had to cut back, so I couldn't teach those classes anymore, and I had to cut back, and the majority of my classes were hip-hop for kids under the age of 8. And at that time, no one was teaching hip-hop to kids under the age of 8. And so I kept, I was having the hardest time finding teachers to take those classes. And I kept saying, I just wish I had something that represented what I taught in class that I can hand over to another teacher and say, here, teach this. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you make flashcards? And I thought, yeah, why don't I make flashcards? So I kind of jumped into that whole idea. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just asked a lot of questions. I did a lot of research. I looked at the resources that were around me. I mean, I was next door, my studio was next door to a recording studio. So they were able to help me with the videos and the music and everything that I needed. And then I had one of my parents who was a photographer who shot all of the steps for me, and then another parent who was a graphic artist who did all of the typesetting and design. And, we all came together and we made this Hip-Hop in a Box. And I really made it for me because I needed a way to transfer my knowledge. But, you can't just buy one kit. You had to buy 2,000 kits. So I thought, well, I guess I'll sell them. And I put them online, and I figured, well, if it was helpful for me, then I guess it'll be a little bit helpful to other people. And, it was a difficult start, I should say, but through the years, it's definitely kind of caught on.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, I loved what you just said then. It was a difficult start because we've got lots of studio owners that are listening to our podcast that maybe are just about to jump with both feet into the dance studio owner pit where they're going to start a dance studio. And, there are tough times. And so I'd love for you to talk to those challenges at the beginning, and what kind of made you continue to just kind of keep pushing forward, and you were like, I know this is going to work? Because I love that you created the product out of necessity for yourself.
Yeah, it's persistence. I think a lot of people think, they want to do it, but they start to do it and they realize, well, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And so they start to pull back and maybe they don't do it. I remember going to my first conference where I was exhibiting for Hiphop in a Box. And I think this was maybe 2006. And people would walk by my booth and they go, oh, that sounds kind of cool, but hip hop's just a fad. It'll be gone in 2 years. Something else will come up. And so I was, at first I was like, oh gosh, oh no, I spent so much money to be here. but there was a couple of early adopters, and, they kind of saw the potential there and they were looking for something. So they bought it and they decided to give it a try. And then I came back next year. And those same teachers were at that conference, and they started talking to other teachers, and curiosity started to build around it. So, now instead of people walking by my booth going, oh, it's just a fad, people started going, so I heard about this. Tell me about, what is this? And so really things started to pick up. And then So You Think You Can Dance came along. And I think that really showed that hip hop is the real deal. It's here to stay. It's not going away. And so studio owners started to realize, okay, in order for me to stay relevant, I'm going to have to add hip hop to my repertoire. And it just snowballed from there. And it really has become kind of the number one go-to hip hop resource for kids with for little kids. But really it took a lot of just saying, let's keep with it. There's some potential there. And, the feedback that we were getting kept me going, because the feedback that we were getting from the teachers, they were so thankful that they had this, because it just made their life so much easier. But for those who are just starting that process, again, it's scary. But I think there's a saying, I think it's Steve Jobs. He says, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. And, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They have the idea, they want to do it, they see how hard it is, maybe they don't know everything they need to do, they don't want to look silly by not knowing the right answers, so they just don't do it, or they do it the wrong way. Where my philosophy is, play dumb, ask a lot of questions. People are so willing to help. And they're so willing to offer assistance, and just be a sponge and absorb everything you can and just go for it. Why not? I always said I don't want to be 80 years old saying, what if? What if I would have done that? I would much rather do it and fail than to not know and to have that hanging over my head.
I love it. I love your philosophy so much, and I'm completely agree with you. And I guess self-belief plays a huge part in that journey as well.
Absolutely. And family. I had a fantastic support system around me that really, my husband, he put in the money that we needed to do this because it was not cheap. He was there supporting me. My family was there supporting me. So I think that's important too, just to have people that you can lean on. This is something funny. I remember I was building my second studio, and it was trying. It was a 14,000 square foot studio, and the mirrors got put up, and the mirrors were warped. So I had them taken down.
Oh, no.
We had to call another company to come in, and now think about how much money it costs to put 14,000 square feet of mirrors into a studio.
Yeah.
We had to do it all over again with another studio. They put the mirrors up. Some of them were warped. One of them fell down off and shattered everywhere. And I was at wit's end by this point. We were probably 8 weeks into the renovation. And I remember sitting down on a stool with my husband and going, I'm not a quitter, but I want to quit right now. I was in tears, and he was like, come on, pull it together, babe. We got to go. So I, you do want to quit 100 times, but at some point you just go, get it together, girl, and keep going.
Yeah, I think that's really important what you mentioned around, having a good support network around you. And in Tricia's instance, it's having a great husband that was there. It could be other family members. It could be partners. It could be just great best friends. It could be, mentors or other studio owners. It's just having that support network is just so important. And I know in my business, I see it with our studio owners as well. Because sometimes, the husband or the partner isn't the number one supporter of the business either.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot of the time.
Yeah. I owe a lot to my students' parents also. Like, they would come in and paint walls for me, and, that type of stuff. So yeah, anywhere you can find it. And, the dance community is so fantastic with offering help.
Yep.
And suggestions. And there's so many resources out there that, just don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Oh, totally with you. Totally with you on that one. So you create this syllabus, you create this program, Hip Hop in a Box, and you get through, and then So You Think You Can Dance starts, and it starts, taking off, and people start looking at it and purchasing it and love it. For our studio owners that are listening who may have hip hop at the moment, or maybe want to introduce it for that younger age group, what would your advice be? Some tips, I guess, on how they could introduce a successful program that people want to actually come to?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. I think, it's kind of intimidating at first, because a lot of teachers, it's not their wheelhouse. So they don't know what to look for. They don't know how to start it. But a great way just to kind of test the waters, if you're thinking about it, is to do a hip-hop tap combo class. Hip-hop and tap are so complementary to each other. They're both rhythm-focused. They, boys and girls love it. It's fine and gross motor skills. So I think that's a great way to kind of introduce it, to kind of maybe test the waters to see if people are interested in it. When you are ready to really go for it, I think the number one key to success is finding the right teacher. It's hard. But with Hip Hop in a Box, what it's done is it's allowed those teachers who already know how to work with little kids, it's allowed them to learn the material and teach that to little kids. The hardest thing is for someone who's, an advanced level hip hop teacher who's never worked with little kids, the hardest thing for them to do is to figure out, how do I translate that to a 4-year-old?
Yeah.
So, I think Hip Hop in a Box and 1, 2, 3 Dance and the Hip Hop Made Easy syllabus really solved a problem. It provided a solution with taking the teachers who know this younger age group and know how to really relate to them, and providing them with the training and the material and the structure to begin to build a successful program. I think that's important. You need to find a teacher who knows the importance of what family-friendly and developmentally appropriate mean. So I think, a lot of people have a negative idea of hip hop based on what they see and hear on the radio and on TV. But, it doesn't have to be that way. And as teachers, it starts with us to really show them a different way to look at it and come from really a positive, energetic look at it, as opposed to this attitude and stank face, So I think you want to keep it fun and light and really foundationally appropriate for a younger child. Your teacher needs to be someone who can maintain control of a class, because I think hip hop in nature, general, is a little bit more energetic than a lot of different styles of dance. And so the kids get amped up a lot. So, to have a teacher who can have fun but maintain control of the class, I think is important. Other than that, I think a big downfall that studios find themselves in is they don't give their hip hop program the respect that they give to their jazz and ballet and their tap program, or even their acro program. I mean, it's often the fun class, the extra class. You can take this class if you take all of these classes. It's like the extra thing. But what they don't see is the benefits that come through hip hop. And, if properly structured, and once you get everybody on the same page with terminology and how we're going to progress from year to year, that's a huge revenue opportunity for you.
Oh yeah. I agree. In terms of that, I mean, how do you, let's say we've got someone at the moment who's running hip hop and they're like, yep, that's me. It's kind of the fun class. It's it's the class that we kind of tack on to the end of everything else. I mean, what's the progress, the stages for our studio owners to go through to build it up? Let's talk about, their marketing, their internal marketing to their current students, because that's the low hanging fruit right there, are people that's already in your studio doing a class. We always talk about, increasing frequency of classes of current students, which is a great way to increase the income in a studio. I mean, what do they need to be doing to, I guess, educate, everyone else about how awesome hip hop is and the benefits of it?
Well, I think they first need to understand that it, if done properly, it follows the same developmental process as a ballet curriculum. What a child learns at age 3 in ballet doesn't go away as they get older. You're still going to do tendus and passes when you're dancing on stage in the Nutcracker, but you're just not going to do 152 repetitions of them, Yeah. So with hip hop and the structure of it, you come at it from a developmental point of view, and you work on foundational skills. I mean, the same skills that we're working on in ballet with balance and precision and, that type of stuff, body placement, body awareness, body dynamics, all of that comes into play with hip hop as well, but it has to be thought out. It has to be purposefully built into the curriculum. Once the studio teachers and studio owners understand that it can be progressed just as your other classes, then they can translate that into how it can benefit, how a hip hop class can also benefit their kids. Rhythm is number one with hip hop. It's so rhythm focused that bleeds into every other style of dance that they're going to do, especially tap. Body dynamics, conditioning, everything bleeds into every other style of dance that they're going to do. It just needs, it needs to have the respect that every other class does, where they're looking at this saying, okay, you're going to start here this year, next year we're going to do this, next year we're going to do that, and here's how it progresses.
Perfect. I love it. And it's so funny because I've talked to a couple of people who are experts in tap, and they say, tap doesn't, lots of studios don't give tap the attention that it needs. I think it really does come down to, I think it's from the top, the studio owner, if they love, and see the value more in ballet or more in jazz, well, then that filters down to everybody in the studio. Because I know when I was, teaching, jazz and jazz technique, and no one ever got taken out of my class for, photos or extra rehearsals, but my friend teaching tap, kids always got taken out of her class to do other things. And so, but the studio owner wasn't really into tap, Right. And so I think it's really spreading the love, and you as a studio owner educating yourself on the benefits of these different disciplines as well.
Absolutely. You know what? Get into class yourself. Go experience it yourself so that you can understand what it is. And it kind of takes away that scary aspect to it. I'm a hip hop dancer. I know how to do ballet, but I'm not comfortable in ballet. but it helps me to go take a ballet class because then I understand it more and I really see, oh yeah, well we do that in hip hop all the time. It's just a different way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, couldn't agree more with you. Getting to class, and this year I was like, even me, I was like, I'm doing more classes this year because I did a few last year and I love them. They're so much fun once you get to them as well.
I know.
We forget how much fun they are when we take a little bit of a break. Tricia, lots of studios are doing your Hip Hop in a Box program now. I'd love for you to share with us some marketing strategies of how those studios are attracting students into their hip hop classes.
It's so different everywhere you go, but I think, and I've kind of said this a little bit before, but it gives them a purpose and it gives them a structure and something to rely on to say what we're doing is age appropriate. So I always call my hip hop style is kind of like Disney hip hop. It's very, very age appropriate. It's something that you can put on stage and you wouldn't be embarrassed by. When the teachers are able to use these steps that are included with Hip Hop in a Box and 1, 2, 3 Dance, they can feel safe knowing that what's going to go on stage is going to be okay. And I think that really comforts parents to know that this is a different style of hip hop, that this is, a developmentally appropriate, age appropriate style of hip hop that works perfectly for kids ages 7 through 12. And, taking that fear away from parents is huge because nobody wants to put their kid in a class that, they don't, parents don't want their kids coming home with a stink face attitude. I wouldn't want that for my child. So as, in the marketing of it, when you approach it in a way that is age appropriate, family friendly, those are the big keywords that will attract parents to kind of have them let down that guard and say, okay, let's try it.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great advice as well. Maybe you should think of doing Frozen hip hop, Tricia. When you said Disney, I was like, "Hello, Frozen." If I hear anything else about Frozen, yeah.
Don't tip me with a good time. I'll do it.
Well, look, Frozen is making everyone, Disney a lot of money.
Yep.
Okay, cool. No, that's really cool. Really valuable right there is, and don't try and make it. I've seen this with a lot of studio owners who are advertising their hip hop as well, is they try and make it more adult because they think that's what they want. That's what the parents want to see, but it's not, is it? No. I mean, who wants their kid to grow up that fast? No parent does. And yeah, we try to be cool and, we're doing what they see on TV, but a 5-year-old does not need to be doing that. A 5-year-old is not watching music videos on YouTube or on TV or whatever. So they're not, they don't have that idea of what that is, so you have to think like a 3-year-old. You have to think like a 5-year-old. What are they surrounded in? I mean, hip hop it's a culture that was turned into a dance form. So when you think like a 3-year-old and you think like a 5-year-old, what's their culture? What are they watching every day? What music do they listen to every day? What types of things are they interested in? And how can we turn that into dance to an energetic, rhythmic style of hip hop? That to me is 3-year-old hip hop or 5-year-old hip hop. Agree. Totally love it. Now, more recently, you've created the Rhythm Works Integrative Dance Certification. It's a little bit of a mouthful. I'd love to know a little bit more about this program that really educates teachers on working with children.
Yeah, it was quite a process to get here. A few years ago, I had a really traumatic experience where I almost died. And I came out of that experience just with a new focus of purpose. I just felt like, okay, there's some reason I'm here still. So what am I supposed to be doing? And through the years, I've had tons of teachers ask me, does Hip Hop in a Box work for kids with special needs? And, I have this student with autism or, whatever it was. But it kept coming in my world of, kids with autism or Down syndrome. And I've definitely taught my fair share of that community. And so I really thought, you know what, I'm really feeling drawn to look more into how can Hip Hop in a Box and the Hip Hop Made Easy program be used for this community, not just as like, yay, we're dancing, but really as something that's beneficial to them outside of the studio. You know, what we're doing in the studio, how can we use that to make, you know, to help them in the rest of their life? And so I was kind of all over the place, and I just started taking like every possible class that I can take. I was reading books, I was watching videos, I was talking to people, and before I knew it, I had surrounded myself with this board of advisors. I call them, they're my little angels now, but world-class occupational therapists who do research, pediatric physical therapists, special education doctors, behaviorists. You know, these people heard about what I was wanting to do, and they said, I want to be part of it because I see the value of it. And so what we did was we started just taking every possible little element of the Hip Hop Made Easy program and Hip Hop in a Box and 1, 2, 3 Dance. And for years, we went through it all and said, okay, what can this be used? How can this be used in the clinic? What value does this have? You know, what elements does this cover? You know, and we kind of dissected everything so that every single thing had a purpose of what we were doing. And this amazing program came out of it that we're able to look at each child individually and what their needs are, what their goals are, and say, okay, your goal is riding a bike. That's what they're working on in therapy. Okay, what's involved in riding a bike? Okay, we need to be able to stand on one leg, so single leg balancing. We need to be able to sit up tall on our bike, so we need to have good back extension. We need to be able to look from side to side to make sure we're safe. So we have, you know, some good eye tracking and visual tracking there. We have, you know, you pedal the bike, so that's your body moving in a bilateral reciprocal coordination. You know, so it's same thing with your hands whenever you turn the bike. Those are all elements that are built into some of the steps that we do. So if we have a child who happens to have that goal, then we're going to use those steps in class so that they're getting that extra practice on those elements that they need to, the skills that they need to have in order to reach their goals. So we're using dance as a modality to build those skills that you know, the kids are working on. And it's, you know, it's not just motor skills, but it's also social skills and emotional skills, cognitive skills, self-help. A lot of these kids are learning how to dress themselves. So a lot of our steps replicate the motions that they have to do whenever they're getting dressed. So it really, you know, I knew that I knew that dance was good for you, but I really in the beginning didn't imagine the scope of what could be done, you know, the scope of the benefits. So it just blew my mind. And then you start getting into the research, and the research shows that, you know, when you combine certain sound tones with rhythm and movement all at the same time, different parts of your brain lights up and it creates new neural pathways. And by doing these things and creating new neural pathways, we can override the pathways that are not working. And like, it's mind blowing, you know, and it's the awesome thing is that it's just in its infancy of this research. And so, it's, you know, to me, I've always said performing was for my ego, teaching was for my heart, but Rhythm Works Integrative Dance is for my soul. Like, I have never cried so much after class because you walk out of class and you're like, they did cross open. You know, it's a step that we do, and we've been working on it for 11 weeks, and they finally got it, and it's just it touches your soul when you do that. And it's so awesome when you get to, you know, they make friends and they're doing these things that, you know, the parents are just like, wow, I never thought that I'd see my child do these things. And they seem to start coming much easier whenever they're done through dance for some reason. And music, I mean, as teachers, we have such a powerful tool through dance to really make a difference in these kids' lives. And I mean, I'm sure you can tell, like, I'm so passionate about this now because I can't say enough about it. And, you know, the program is one thing, but taking it to the masses, you know, I wanted to build something that would benefit, you know, not just my community, but really globally. And so, you know, the next step once we built the program was how do we transfer that knowledge to teachers? And, you know, what I've seen through my years of talking with teachers out on the circuit is that they want to offer classes for kids with special needs, but they don't know how. What happens is they see the behavior and they don't know how to deal with the behavior. So it's often not successful. So what we do through the teacher certification for RhythmWorks Integrative Dance is that we provide these tools that help to really open the eyes of, you know, what might be causing these behaviors. What can we do before class? What can we do during class to really put the kids in an optimal learning state to help with their behaviors and giving them different options whenever they do start to act out, and, you know, doing things in a purposeful way, but not just, you know, it doesn't end at the 3-day certification. What we do is we continue after you're certified. You become part of the RhythmWorks Society. And that is monthly continuing education webinars where we're talking about, you know, different topics here and there. And it may not pertain to you at that moment, but 3 years down the road, you may have a child in a wheelchair and you are like, okay, I need to go back to that class on, you know, working with children in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
You know, and just to give them the resources and the videos and the assistance in working specifically with this population. Because, you know, there's a saying that says, you know, if you've seen one kid with autism, you've only seen one kid with autism. And that is so true. You know, what works for one child is not going to work for another child. And what works for one child may not work for them next week. So you really have to have this huge, you know, toolbox that you can reach into and say, okay, I'm going to try this. All right, that didn't work. What about this? What about that? What about this? Yay, this worked, you know? And so it was important for me that in developing this certification that we didn't leave people hanging. You know, I wanted to have a community where we all kind of banded together and helped each other for the greater good of these kids.
It's amazing, and you know, you've touched on something, and it really doesn't matter with no matter who you're teaching. I mean, dance just really affects people's lives, you know, in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And I think as studio owners, you know, and as teachers, I think we need to reconnect with that more, because, you know, we see that angry parent that's sending us a horrible text message, or we get an angry email, or something's not going our way, or a teacher leaves us. I mean, we've always kind of got to tune back into just the huge difference that us being the studio owner and creating that business, what impact that's having on people.
Yeah, and I think it's I call it the art of teaching. And it really is a different perspective of teaching. It's not about teaching all this choreography. You know, yes, we teach this choreography, but what else are we teaching while we teach them this choreography? What else are we teaching them when we stretch our bodies? What are we teaching them about life, about responsibility, about, you know, there's so many life skills that are just built in to dance, you know, and, but what we need to do as teachers is really teach the why. Why do we do this? And really go into those classes thinking, okay, I am teaching the next generation of teachers. So I have to pass this information down. I'm not just going to say, here, look at me, do this. You know, I'm really going to stop and say, okay, this is why we're doing this. These are the muscles we're using. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to say, okay, I think you need to tweak this a little bit. Maybe try doing this. You know, you have different types of learners. You need to be able to teach in different types of ways. And that's one of the things we go over in the RhythmWorks training is, you know, 5 different learner styles or learner types, and then a bunch of different teaching styles that can benefit each type of learner. So, you know, when you go into every single class, whether it's a class for special needs, kids with special needs, or a general population class. You go in with the expectation that you're there to teach these kids much more than dance, and I'm a spiritual person. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And every time I walk into a class, my mantra is, send me what I need to make a difference. Send me what I need to inspire these kids. And I walk in and I just surrender and I go for it. And who knows what comes out of my mouth, but we work together as a team to really, to teach the kids.
Yeah, speaking my language. I love it. And I know that a lot of our studio owners that are listening are going to be like nodding their heads and kind of being like, yes, this is exactly how I feel as well. So, and probably a gentle reminder for a lot of people that are listening. So thank you for that. Tricia, I'd love to ask to wrap up our time together today. What are your 3 tips for running a successful dance studio? So from all the dance studios you've been a part of, and obviously, running your business as well, what would be those 3 things that you think, these are the ingredients to, make a difference and build a great business?
Gosh, I think, I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes through my studio owner career. What really, really made a big difference for me was setting my policies and procedures. In the beginning, I wanted to be everybody's friends and I wanted everybody to be happy. So I, would bend all these rules and allow all these things to happen. And then I just started realizing I'm being taken advantage of. So I set my policies and procedures. I stuck to them. It was hard. It was hard because I was friends with a lot of my clientele, and but they started to respect it. They understand that. So I think back to what problems have I had in the past, and how would I ideally like those to be handled. And that's your that's your policy on that thing. And it doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You can definitely change your policies whenever you need to, because there's bound to be something that comes up that we didn't think of. so when that happens, you implement a new policy and procedure. So I think that's a big one. Another thing that I had to learn the hard way, and I'm sure a lot of people out there learn the hard way, is just don't devalue yourself. I think, because our work is our passion, a lot of times we, for some reason, don't think our time is as valuable as a doctor or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, but what makes us less valuable? Nothing. Why shouldn't we be paid what we feel we're worth? What is our time worth for us? How much do you want to get paid per hour? And start from there, and I mean, think of it like this. If you go to a discount store and you buy a purse not you, but someone goes to a discount store, they buy a purse, it's a no-name brand, and it's that purse. And then they get a purse from a high-end couture designer, and, which purse are you going to value more? Which purse are you going to take better care of? Which purse are you going to be more proud to wear on your shoulders? The one you paid more money for, or the one that's perceived to have more value. So don't devalue yourself. What you offer is special and it's unique, and you worked hard to get there. You did a lot of training. You've taken a lot of classes, and I hope that you're still taking classes and continuing to educate yourself. And that's my last suggestion, is stay educated, because the world changes, and you got to stay up there to stay on the cutting edge. And, I've been to so many conferences, and I've gotten something out of every single conference that I went to, and you might pay $1,000 for a conference and leave with one idea. And as you're walking away, you're like, okay, that was great. I have this one idea, but I paid $1,000 for it. But then you go implement that one idea, and that one idea adds $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of revenue that year. That was a great investment you made, to get that one idea. So to me, education is key, and it's not, not necessarily going out and, yes, go out and take your own classes, be a student, because I think being a student helps you be a better teacher, because you start to see things that other teachers are doing or not doing that you may not want to do or add to your classes. But also, take the business classes, take marketing classes, read books, watch videos, do whatever you can to just learn little things, learn investing, just learn skills that are elements of what it takes to own a business in general, not just a dance studio, but in general, I think
they're great. I think that they're really three really powerful things to leave our studio owners with. Tricia, thank you so much for your time. I know that we've wanted to do this for a little while, so I'm glad that we got to make it happen for our studio owners. Where can they go for more information about you and Hip Hop in a Box?
Well, the main website is danceinAbox.com, so DANCEINABOX.com. I'm on Facebook, so if you facebook.com/ it's all together, Dance in a Box Rhythm Works. So DANCEINABOX RHYTHMWORKS. That's my Facebook. They can email me at Tricia@danceinAbox.com, and that's TRICIA@danceinAbox.com. So I would say those are the three main ways to reach me. But I have some breaking news for you. I'm coming to Australia in September.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I'm working right now with 3 studios, one in the Brisbane area, one in Sydney, and one in Melbourne. And we're going to do RhythmWorks teacher certifications out there.
Ah, fantastic.
You heard it first here. We haven't announced it anywhere, but I'll be out mid-September through early October.
Ah, awesome. Well, that's great news. I think I'll be in the US in September, but hopefully we can try and make it work, especially when you're in Sydney. But that's great work, because I know of your work, and so many people have said how amazing it is, and so I'm glad that you're bringing it out to Australia, which has got a very passionate, hungry dance market here. So exactly what they need.
I love Australian dancers. I also teach through Disney. I'm a teaching artist for Disney Performing Arts at Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
And we get so many Australian groups out there taking classes with us, and they are my favorite.
Yay.
They're awesome. I love my Aussie dancers.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Tricia. Well, thanks so much again. We'll put all the links in our show notes as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Clint. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and all of your teachers.
Are you enjoying the Studio Success Formula podcast? Then we'd love for you to share the love. We want to help more dance studio owners become go-to studios, so we'd greatly appreciate you writing us a review on iTunes. For taking the time out to do so, every month, Clint will be selecting one lucky dance studio owner to receive a Power Business Coaching session. Simply visit the iTunes store today, search for Studio Success Formula, click on ratings and reviews, and then write your review. Thanks in advance. Take care, and we'll see you next time.